What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today is our NFL preseason week 3 review, final week of the preseason. Officially, the preseason is over after 3 weeks, a shortened preseason, and no overtime this preseason as well. I think those are both pretty good rules, I think, and especially shortening the preseason and no overtimes because the games do not mean anything. So we actually saw our first tie this week, and we'll be talking about. And so also I just think that the preseason is slowly on its way out, and I know they need it for for roster spots and see who can perform in game and stuff like that. But I think that honestly, some point in time soon, it's going to become a 1 week preseason, and none of the starters will play. They'll just have the backups play, and whoever does well will make the team. I think that would be the best way to do it. But really, 3 games is too much. It's really pointless. But this week we actually saw a lot of starters play in the preseason, so we're gonna get right into it with the Colts versus the Lions. The Colts defeated the Lions 27-17, improving to 3-0 on the preseason and undefeated preseason. And Sam Ehlinger suffered an injury, an ankle sprain, is expected to be out a couple of weeks. And with the Colts already without Carson Wentz for week 1 at least, they have to rely on Jacob Eason, and I don't think Jacob Eason's going to be able to get the job done now. And I just worry for that team because I honestly thought that they had a chance to make the playoffs, and it doesn't seem like they're going to have a chance now because they're going to have a really slow start, and they're going to have an uphill battle to climb. And with their with Carson Wentz not even being a for sure superstar quarterback, he's played terrible last year. He turned the ball over too much, so we don't really know how well he's going to even do. So we'll see what happens. But David Blau for Detroit had a decent game. He's turned the ball over once a week at least in the preseason. 13 of 21 for 117 yards and an interception. Deion Jackson for the Colts had a nice rush game, 10 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. And Desmond Patman had 2 receptions for 64 yards. The first tie of the preseason and of the 2020 season was the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Jets. 31-31 was the final score. Joe Flacco 13-16, 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kenny Yeboah, New York Jets wide receiver, 4 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Jets have a pretty good wide receiving core right now, and they got Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Kenny Yeboah is also a very talented player coming out of this year's draft class. So look for them to be pretty good, but it's just on Zach Wilson, and I don't think he has any excuse. He comes into a pretty good wide receiving core, and lucky better receiving core than Trevor Lawrence. That's definitely for sure. So he's got a good wide receiving core there. So but the Eagles also, they just picked up Gardner Minshew, and very interesting move. The Jaguars, Urban Meyer I think was downplaying the whole starting quarterback situation. I think everyone knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the starter this season, obviously, especially week 1. And he's saying he might even start, and then they just give him away, which for me I think that's a bad decision. And why would they trade Gardner Minshew, who's a very capable and put together backup who could really help that team out in a big way? And especially if Trevor Lawrence is to go down from injury, or if he's not performing well, they could easily put him in. I don't think that they'd have to worry that much as they do with whoever the third string quarterback is. So just not the best move. The Eagles adding more depth to the quarterback room with Joe Flacco and Jalen Hurts. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be able to hopefully play all 16 games this season and start, but if how well he does, we'll not know. This is his make or break season, really. And if he doesn't do well, he'll probably be on the move somewhere this offseason. The Steelers lost to the Panthers 9-34. The Steelers were going for a 4-0 preseason. No team other could have done. Unfortunately, did not do that. Sam Darnold had a very good game, 19-25, 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. A very good game. Ray McLeod for the Steelers, 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty solid game for him as well. Panthers, they're going to be pretty good next year, and they have to fill in the shoes for Curtis Samuels, but Robbie Anderson is still there, so I think that they'll be okay. But we'll see how Sam Darnold does there, and another guy who really has no excuses this season. If you can't get it done 2 different places, then you're probably the problem, is my guess. So, the Vikings versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs cap off an undefeated preseason, winning 28-5 versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings lose 0-3 on the preseason, and Shane Buechele had a great game, and 20 of 33, 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a big game for him. Seems to be a good backup option for Patrick Mahomes. Not that he'll play much unless Patrick Mahomes is to get injured, but in mop-up time, then you'll probably see Shane Buechele in because he's performed very well in this preseason. Derek Gore, 5 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. So very good game for the Chiefs offense on the side of the ball. So good game for them. That was all of Friday's games for preseason week 3. Moving on to Saturday's games. The Bills shut out the Packers 19-0. The Packers 0-3 on the preseason. The Bills undefeated on the preseason. And Josh Allen went 20 of 26, 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty impressive game for him. And Gabriel Davis, 5 receptions, 75 yards and a touchdown. The Packers organization, I just think that they're in kind of a interesting spot right now, and I think that they're going to lose some games that they shouldn't lose this season because of that. Just the uncertainty of how badly does Aaron Rodgers want to be playing there or not. So moving on to the Ravens versus the Washington Football Team. The Ravens defeat the Washington Football Team 37-3. Tyler Huntley played a great game, 24 of 33, 285 yards and 4 touchdowns. And they blew out the Washington Football Team, and they made their defense look horrible, which is very uncharacteristic for the Washington Football Team. Has a very strong defense, and their depth at the defensive side of the ball is very good. But they had guys balling out all over on the offensive side of the ball. Nate McRae, 22 carries for 68 yards. Benjamin Victor, 5 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. And, the Ravens undefeated on the preseason, so good, very good preseason for them. Tyler Huntley's shown to be a pretty good backup after losing RG3 to retirement this season. The Bears versus the Titans. The Bears defeat the Titans 27-24. Nick Foles had a pretty good game, 10 of 13, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. I guess he still has it, so pretty impressive. Jesper Horsted, tight end for the Bears, 5 receptions, 104 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had a great game and a great catch in the corner of the end zone and from Justin Fields, so very good game for them. Good young tight end to back up Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham's going to mentor him very well, and he's going to be a pretty good tight end once he gets his legit playing time, whether that's with the Bears or not. Probably will be, because Jimmy Graham is pretty old, so I think that there is a good chance of that. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the Houston Texans 23-16. Tom Brady made an appearance in this game, surprisingly. 11 of 14, 154 yards and a touchdown for Tom Brady. Chris Godwin played, 3 receptions, 84 yards and a touchdown. Tom Brady, he had a 91-yard drive with 7 of 7 for passing, so very good game for them. And there's not much you can really do against the Super Bowl defending champions for the Texans. So the Broncos improve to an undefeated preseason. The Rams lose all 3 of their preseason games this year, and they've lost most of the games pretty closely, but A loss is a loss at the end of the day. 12-17 was the score of this game. Drew Lock played pretty well. He had a nice touchdown, and Bryce Perkins for the Rams, a guy who really was one of the few bright spots for that team. And if he wasn't there, the games probably wouldn't be as close as they were for them. And he played pretty well, so very good backup option. But he's probably gonna be the third stringer, John Wolford. But I think someone's gonna give him a call, and he's gonna get a job somewhere else. I don't know if the Rams will keep him around, but I think Bryce Perkins will go somewhere else. And he showed out this preseason, so I think that he's going to get an opportunity somewhere as a backup, and maybe a chance to even get some playing time if wherever he goes he gets a chance. Who knows? The Seahawks versus the Chargers. The Seahawks defeat the Chargers 27-0, and Geno Smith, really a guy that I did not think was a good backup option for Russell Wilson. I haven't thought that for a while, ever since he's been with the team as the backup. He played pretty well yesterday after coming back from the concussion he suffered in week 1, preseason week 1 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. He played pretty well, and 11 of 15, 90 yards, and he was moving around in the pocket well. They like to keep him as a pocket passer, which is not what Geno Smith is. And he played very well. I was impressed. And so maybe he's not, because Alex Magoo and Sean Mannion, those guys, we couldn't get anything going with them. And so Geno Smith comes in, and they played great. So maybe he's a decent backup option. I don't know, but the defense played pretty well too, and I just think that they blitzed a lot, and it helped them in ways, but at the same time they blitzed a little too much. But I'm not gonna sit here and say to not blitz, because it obviously helped them. But and in fact, I'm saying that they should blitz a little more, but just not as much as they did in the preseason game yesterday, because they'll scheme against that. Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, they'll easily, they'll be able to scheme against that. But Alex Collins, running back for Seattle, a huge game, 10 receptions, 37 yards, or 10 carries, 37 yards, and a touchdown, 7 receptions for 52 yards. So pretty good game. That was Saturday's games. Sunday, August 29th, the Jaguars defeated the Cowboys 34-14. The Cowboys becoming the only team to go 0-4 in the preseason, because they did play in the Hall of Fame game. Trevor Lawrence played a very good game, 11-12 for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I thought that was pretty impressive for him heading into the regular season. Gives them a good amount of confidence after they traded Gardner Minshew, and he knows that he's really their only guy, so he has no room for error. But Jeff Cotton, receiver for the Jags, 3 receptions, 66 yards, pretty good game for him. The Dolphins, 29-26, defeated the Bengals in a very close game. Reed Sinnett for Miami had a great game, 22-33, 343 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jared Dokes for Miami, 16 carries, 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kirk Merritt for Miami, 3 receptions, 72 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good game there. Raiders versus 49ers. This was the game that I thought was going to be pretty close. Turned out it was not that close at all. The 49ers defeated the Raiders 34-10 in a big blowout game. Wayne Gallman had a very nice game, 13 carries and 60 yards, and the Raiders just couldn't get anything going early on. So the Patriots versus the Giants. The Patriots defeated the Giants 22-20, and the Giants go to 0-3. Patriots go 3-0. Mac Jones, 10 of 14, 156 yards, and he threw his first touchdown pass after many players on his team have dropped a couple of touchdown passes this preseason. So pretty good game for him heading into the preseason, or regular season, I mean. And Cam Newton probably gonna start. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. J.J. Taylor for the Patriots, 9 carries, 76 yards. They got a really good depth at the running back position with Ron Moore Stevenson this year, and Damian Harris and Sony Michel. They got a really good team. The Browns versus the Falcons. The Browns won 19-10. Kyle Loyoleta 11 of 22, 150 yards and a touchdown. And he's been pretty good all preseason. Probably why they went 3-0. Falcons go 0-3, really because of their quarterback play, or I should say lack thereof. So that will wrap it up for this week of preseason and 2021 preseason. And please leave a like down below, subscribe, share this with your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching.